All right. Welcome everyone to today's HLAA Product Showcase webinar, Never Miss a Word with Olelo Captioned Calls. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Amanda Watson and I am the meeting planner for HLAA and your host today. Today's presentation is being recorded and will be available for playback at a later time on the HLAA website. This is a disclaimer that HLAA does not endorse the product featured in this webinar. HLAA is providing an educational opportunity to learn about this product and how it could benefit people with hearing loss. I will start with giving a few tech tips. To see captions on this webinar, you will need to click on the CC icon and click on Show Subtitle. You can change the font size in subtitle settings. Chat is available for technical issues and panelists only. We would like participants to please use the Q&A icon to ask questions. We'll be using this to facilitate questions and answers after the presentation. If you've joined by computer, the presentation should be in side-by-side mode. Slides are on the left and panelists are on the right in gallery view. You can change the size of your side-by-side view by hovering between the two screens and moving the gray bar to adjust to your desired size. If you've joined by mobile device or phone, your view may be different and you may have to scroll between views to the desired one. Our presenter today is Erik Strand, coming from MachineGenius. I will now pass it over to you, Erik.
Hi, Amanda, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Hey everyone, I hope you can see me okay. Thanks for joining us on this webinar. Again, I'm Erik Strand. I'm the president and founder of MachineGenius. We make Olelo Captioned Calls. We'll be looking at this view for a little while where I speak, and I can show you a demonstration of Olelo Captioned Calls here on the right side of the screen. But I'd like to go through just a few slides. We'll keep it minimal, just to orient you to what Olelo Captioned Calls is, how we might be different from other caption call solutions that you may have used or be currently using. And then we'll get quickly into a product demonstration, and I can take any questions that you might have near the end. So I will bring up those slides real quick. So in a nutshell, what Olelo Captioned Calls is, it's an easy to use app. It's for mobile devices to help people with hearing loss use the phone. You're probably familiar with other apps or desktop phones that do similar things. And again, one of the things I hope to do is to explain a little bit about what makes us different and why we think that we're better for a lot of deaf and hard of hearing users than some other solutions. So we caption every word of every call in real time, both sides of the call as it happens. We were the first FCC certified provider of IP CTS service to use automated speech recognition only. So all of our captions are generated through automated speech recognition in the cloud. And that confers a number of what we see as advantages to caption calling service, which I'll get to and hopefully demonstrate to you as well. One of the things that's great about Olelo is it really does have unmatched caption speed and accuracy. So you may be familiar with, in sort of older forms of caption telephone service, having to wait for a CA to get on the line or having to wait a number of seconds before you can actually read the captions of what's being said. With Olelo, you don't have to do any of that waiting. So the captions are delivered in less than a second after a word is spoken, which makes for much more free-flowing conversations. Because it's automated speech recognition only, you have maximum privacy on your call. So there's no communications assistant listening to your private matters on the call. Like other IP CTS services, it's offered at no cost to you. The minutes are paid for, the minutes of use are paid for by a government fund, the TRS fund. And Olelo has lots of great modern features that I think you'll be interested in. So it automatically imports your contacts from your iPhone or your Android smartphone or iPad or Android tablet for that matter. You can save your transcripts to review later. We have visual voicemail, so you don't have to dial up a voicemail number at all to get your voicemails. You just go into visual voicemail, which you may be familiar with from your ordinary cell phone, and you can read a transcript of what's said there. We have spam protection, so we all know that a lot of, well, there's a lot of spammers out there, and I know I get several calls a day that say spam risk on my iPhone. And so we do the very same thing in Olelo, so you won't have spammers calling you, or if they do get through to you, it'll say spam risk next to it. You can decline that call and so on. And we offer call forwarding, so that if you want calls that would ordinarily go to your usual cell phone, they'll get forwarded to Olelo, so you can have captions on any of your inbound calls, and you won't have to give out a new phone number to anyone. You can use your old phone number, essentially. And as required by law, and which we would not leave out of the product, there's fully transcribed 911 calls where the emergency services knows your address and so on. So you can rely on Olelo for those emergency situations. And with that, that really is all I have to say from a slide perspective. I want to give you a live demonstration of how this works. So this is me again over on this side of the screen. And over here on the right side of the screen is the Olelo app running on an Android device. So this is sort of my home screen on that device. I'm mirroring my screen from a real phone to this shared screen here. So I can just open Olelo. You open it just like any other app, and it brings you to the dialer. And before we actually show you what a phone call looks like, I'll just orient you to the really dead simple features that Olelo has. So I can make any call from here, just like an ordinary phone. I can look at my call history. Again, just like you would expect from your usual cell phone. I can browse through any of my contacts. These automatically get imported when I download Olelo to my phone. And if I want to check voicemails, I get a list of all the voicemails that have been left for me. And it works just like you might expect. I can just click on one of these, read the text of the voicemail. I left this for myself some time ago, and then play that back. Really easy stuff. Importantly, everything works just like you would expect. For the most part, folks don't need an instruction manual to use Olelo. It works just like your regular phone, except you get captions on the calls. So let's come back over here, and let's say my phone's just laying open on the desk and I'm going to get an incoming call. I'll now make an incoming call to Olelo from another cell phone that I have here. Hi, this is Eric. And this is an actual transcript of a call going through Olelo. One of the few things that Olelo doesn't transcribe well is, in fact, the word Olelo. I should have thought ahead about naming the product that. But as you can see, the captions are really very fast. They're really very accurate. I think if you compare the captions in Olelo to the ones that you're looking at in Zoom, perhaps, you'll see that ours are just as good, if not better, in most circumstances, and probably equally fast. One of the other things I want to show you is how we caption both sides of a call. So for the moment, I'm going to mute my iPhone and unmute Olelo so you can see what that looks like. And this is the other side of the call. So during an ordinary conversation, you would see these bubbles alternate back and forth depending on who was speaking. And if you don't want to see captions for the things you're saying, you can also turn that off in the app. One thing that we get asked about a lot is how well does a transcription work under, let's call it, adverse circumstances. Maybe there's background noise, maybe people have an accent and so on. One thing I like to demonstrate is, for example, singing. So if I, for instance, say, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. I don't have the most wonderful singing voice, but you can see that even under conditions that aren't ideal, it will transcribe well. And if I, for instance, put on a generically, I don't know, half Russian, half German accent, we'll also see that work. So this is me with a foreign accent. How well does a transcription work in this circumstance? I can't really say where that accent is from now that I've heard myself do it. But the point is, Olelo is very resilient to accents of different kinds. It works very well even when there's background noise. In fact, you may be able to hear that there's a couple trucks going by on the street outside, and Olelo works very well. If I want to make the font bigger because I have trouble seeing, or if I want to change the colors of the transcription, the captions there, I can do that. In fact, let me show you a better example. I'm going to hang up this call and make another. So if I come up to my settings here, and I look under accessibility, I can have the phone blink the flashlight when there's an incoming call. That's very useful. I can have haptic feedback, meaning the phone will vibrate when I take certain actions. And what I wanted to show you was how we can change the size and style of the caption. So I can make these giant or tiny as I see fit. And if I want a high contrast option, I can do this. Or I can choose any of these other selections that are more familiar for instance, this is Facebook Messenger-like, this is WhatsApp-like. So you can customize it to your taste or your needs. A couple other important things. Olelo does work with all Bluetooth devices, so including hearing aids, which many of our customers do use. It works in the car on Bluetooth as well. If you want to set up call forwarding, which I mentioned, very, very easy to do. We can just click on call forwarding here. And with just a few taps, I can actually set up call forwarding on my phone. So it's uncomplicated. I'm not going to actually do it in this case, but by dialing that number, which automatically populates, this will send any calls that are incoming to my cell phone to Olelo instead, so that they can be captioned. And I did want to also show you how the call history works. So here's that call that I just made. And you can see it's the entirety of the call. And importantly, I think both sides of the call are captioned, are transcribed in this case. So if I want to go back and review what was said on a call, if I want to be reminded of when an appointment was or anything like that, I can go back and read the whole thing. And of course, I can delete any of these should I want to. I can also share this transcript if I care to email, to Slack, to a text message. If I want to send it to someone else, it's a very handy feature. And so I will make just one more call to show you a couple other things. So we'll turn into the dialer here. That's a picture of my wife, by the way. So again, we think that Olelo's caption accuracy is the best in the business. And one of the reasons for that is how well it does with capitalization and phone numbers and dates, things like that. So if I say I got my last COVID-19 shot on October 22nd, well, that'll get recognized correctly and punctuated nicely. And if I want to hand out a phone number, my phone number is 239-728-7716. You can see it does a really nice job with phone numbers. That's very important for medical calls, for making appointments and so on. And it formats everything nicely. So in addition to getting the words correct, it also makes it very readable, which we think is a huge, huge factor for usability. And if there's anything else that you'd like me to show you, you can ask in the Q&A, and we could put this through its paces. And so that I leave enough time for any Q&A, I just want to say how easy it is to get started with Olelo. So if you want to sign up for Olelo, you just go to the App Store on iOS devices or go to the Google Play Store if you're on an Android. And again, this works on both tablets and cell phones. You just tap install and it'll install on your mobile device. And the sign up process takes all of about 3 minutes. You enter your information, name, address, date of birth. You do have to provide the last 4 digits of your social security number. That's by law, we have to collect that to make sure that people are who they say they are. We want to prevent any kind of fraud or abuse of our system. But the point is, within minutes, you can be making phone calls with Olelo. You can try it out. You can see if it works any better or worse. Your mileage may vary than your current provider, but it's so easy to try, and it's okay to have more than one of these apps or more than one caption call solution in your life. Some things may work better in certain circumstances. If you've got a desk phone sitting at home that you use for caption calls, well, maybe you want a mobile solution. And ours is very reliable, works anywhere that you have 3G, 4G, 5G, or Wi-Fi. So even if you have a phone sitting around that you don't have connected to any cell network, you can use it on Wi-Fi and you can make calls with Olelo just by having Wi-Fi. And that, in a nutshell, is what we have to offer. I'd be very, very happy to take any questions that anyone may have or demonstrate anything else about Olelo that you might want to see. And I do see that we have some questions. Right. So Michelle asks, how was accuracy measured? FER, NER, WER, can you share the research that verifies accuracy? Yeah, so typically we use word error rate. There are certain fancier things that you can do. Word error rate really captures most of the effect. The way that we do it, that we do our testing internally is, we choose from a number of providers of automated speech recognition service. And I've got a very long 15-year background in doing speech recognition. And so what we did is we went through all the available providers and we found the best and fastest one with an emphasis on accuracy. And we do have internal tests that we can share the results of, but importantly, there are certain third-party tests out there that have tested the accuracy of many systems, and I can guide you to those offline if you want to shoot me an email. Although I would say the proof of the pudding is in the tasting, and give it a try. If you want to see how good it is, people can write down all the specs and results from any kind of study, but most people really want to give it a try and frankly see if they can break it. And I certainly welcome that challenge if you want to give it a whirl, Michelle. Michelle also asks, are captions faster when on Wi-Fi as opposed to cellular? Does transcription happen in the cloud or on the device? Transcription happens in the cloud for a number of very good technical reasons, mostly related to reliability and performance. The captions are done in the cloud. So the audio is flowing through our telephony network, and that's where we capture the audio and perform the speech recognition. That's a little bit nicer than doing it on device, because you don't have to wait for the call audio to get all the way to your device to start that transcription, and you don't have to encounter any network connectivity issues that may exist between our network and the device, you know, your mobile data signal or your Wi-Fi, to possibly interfere with getting that audio. The captions are basically no faster, whether you're on Wi-Fi or you're on mobile data. These days, they're just about equivalent. And audio and captions like this take very little bandwidth, frankly. So you don't have to have a great big fat connection in order for this to work really well. So I, for instance, make calls in and from my car all the time on Olelo. It works just great. Brenda asks, does it use your phone number or a phone number specific to the app? So when you sign up, we'll assign you a new phone number, which will be in your area code if you want it to be. So I'm in the 646 area code. So I say, I want my Olelo number to also be in the 646 area code. And then I get an assigned number. Importantly, you can choose to just use that Olelo number, or you can say, no, I want to turn on two features. One is call forwarding, which means that any phone call incoming to my usual cell phone number will get forwarded automatically to Olelo seamlessly behind the scenes. You won't even know, and it'll ring in Olelo and you'll get the captions. So that means you don't have to give a new number out to anyone. They can just use your old phone number that they have. It may be a doctor or a school or just your friends and loved ones. You can use the same phone number. And what you can also do is set the caller ID for any outbound calls that you make with Olelo to your current cell phone number. So to the rest of the world, it just looks like you're using your ordinary usual cell phone number if you choose. Adelaide asks an important question. Are the social security numbers secure? Yes, they are. So they're stored in an encrypted database aside from any other data that we collect. And there's only two people in the world that have access to that database, and they're myself and my co-founder. So it's very well secured. We take every caution, not only with social security numbers, but also with any personally identifiable information that we collect, your date of birth, your address. Yeah. An anonymous attendee says, delete multiple calls at once. It's a good question. So if I go to my call history and I want to delete a call, that's a fine question. I don't think you can delete multiple calls at once. So we will take that under advisement. And if that's something you're looking for, we can add that to Olelo. And by the way, we do very much listen to requests from our customers. It's really how we establish our roadmap about how we want to improve and make Olelo better. And that's a really good idea. Someone else asked, can I use two different caption companies with my cell phone if I want? Yes, you can. You can have any number of these apps on your phone. The only thing that can be a challenge in that situation is call forwarding. So you can only have your cell phone number forwarded to one other number, as far as I know. So if you wanted call forwarding to be set up such that calls came in and went to Olelo, you would set that up in Olelo, but you couldn't also have that work for instance, caption call or caption on the same phone. But other than that, yeah, these apps don't interact with each other. You can have 3 or 4 or any number that you want. So you can give them a try side by side. And again, if one works better for certain circumstances, give it a whirl. Or if you're doing a taste test to see which caption call app you want to use going forward, perfectly okay to do that, both from a technical and a legal standpoint. You can do it. Agnieszka says, do you know how captioning speed and accuracy compares to in-a-caption? Yeah, really good question. So we think ours is better. We think it's both faster and more accurate. And that's not just a matter of thinking, that's based on the providers that we respectively use to generate our captions. Again, I invite you to try and use the one that works best for you. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to sign up and to download the app and say, I'm just going to try this out and see how it works. You know, I would do an apples to apples test and see what you think. Lizeth asks, is there a cost for the app? Nope. So it's no cost to qualified deaf and hard of hearing users. The costs for providing this service are provided by a federal fund called the TRS fund. And that allows it to be free to anyone who's qualified to use it. And that in fact is, that's mandated by the Americans with Disabilities Act. So this will never cost any money from any provider. So yep, free to use. Yeah, how does it perform with muffled speech such as masks? I could do that demonstration for you right now. It performs really well. You know, as long as you're loud enough, any distortions introduced by the mask really don't have any effect. You know, fairly obviously, if you speak very quietly, such that the phone can't even pick up what you're saying, it works like any other microphone. That's just due to the limitations of the microphone on the phone. But as I, you know, tried to demonstrate a little bit before, speech of various types, accents, background noise, subject matter, speed, all works really well. Again, please don't take my word for it. Please give it a try. I've been using intercaption with call forwarding. If we use call forwarding, then it's not possible to have more than one captioning app on one phone. So yes, that's right. You can still have multiple captioning apps on one phone, but you can't have the call forwarding forward to all of them at the same time. So if you wanted to switch the call forwarding among them, say you wanted to switch from the intercaption call forwarding to Olelo, well, you open Olelo, it's about 3 key presses, and you've now switched the call forwarding, and you can switch it back. Would be the easiest way to do that. There isn't a way to accommodate multiple applications all getting the same forwarded call. How do we answer a forwarded call? I'm trying hard to get through these questions in the limited time we have left. You answer a forwarded call just like any other call. You probably saw me tap up here to answer when I get that incoming call notification. That's what answering a forwarded call will look like when you get it in Olelo. Will this work on calls coming from outside the US? Yes, it will work on calls coming from outside the US. We do block calls to certain territories. So outbound calls to all countries don't necessarily work. That's to avoid sort of scams that exist where sometimes people set up a number and if you dial that number at all, there's charges of like $30 per minute. I doubt you'd encounter any such situation, but yes, it will work on calls from other countries. I want to get to the most important things here. So I'm just going to tick off some things real quick. Data is used when you're away from Wi-Fi, that's true, but the data is very limited. I mean, it uses very little data, so I wouldn't worry about that, no matter how limited your plan is. It cannot be used as cart-like service. We're forbidden from offering that. We could very easily offer it, but we're forbidden from offering it due to regulations of the FCC. We may address that in some way in the future. A couple of these questions I'm getting are really specific technical issues. I invite you to write to oleloteam@machinegenius.com if you have any technical concerns with your use of Olelo. And let me just finish with this. What about privacy? If information is sent to the cloud, is it kept there? No, we don't keep any of your call data, the audio or the transcripts anywhere except on your phone. So all that data vanishes immediately as soon as the call is over. And we are at time, so I appreciate your attention. These are great questions. Feel free to follow up with I or my team at oleloteam@machinegenius.com. Thanks so much for your attention today.
Thank you so much, Eric. And thank you to Natalie, our captioner, for your beautiful captions today. Eric, I'm going to ask you to put your email address in the chat quick so people can grab it. And then we'll close the webinar. But thank you so much for coming out, everyone. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Please feel free to grab his email, which is in the chat right now. Thank you so much.